This is why the show needs to grow. It's not for any other purpose other than for people to figure who know this answer to let us know how do we get the rights to make Louis L'Amour's Education of a Wandering
Yeah,
Man
dude.
into a biopic. I want to make a biopic
Yeah, that would be
about
so
Louis'
good.
time as a hobo and his life. I want to make that so bad. How does that even happen? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Men's Adventure Fiction Podcast. We are extra adventure decked out today because this is gonna be a fun episode that I'll let Nathaniel introduce. But before we get into it, let me just say to our adventure fans out there watching, thank you for sticking with us for another episode. Thank you for coming along on this journey. It's been so much fun. Well, we're coming up on a year since we've known each other, right, Nathaniel?
We are.
Or
I
maybe
think
we
we're
maybe past the
yeah, a
year
little
anniversary.
past.
So yeah, it was super cool that like you and I didn't know each other a little over a year ago. And now we're getting to talk men's adventure fiction, some of our favorite stuff, meet
Yeah.
people who love it as well in the Discord. It's been an absolute blast, and I'm excited to continue the conversation today. How you been?
I've been good, man. Yeah, it's crazy. We've already surpassed half a year of episodes, which is pretty crazy. I don't think we've missed a single week. Actually,
Wow.
I know we haven't missed a
Yeah, we
single
have
week,
not.
which is sick. Lots of stuff. Lots of hoops we had to jump through.
Right.
Quick little like aside about the Discord link. I've been having a lot of people reach out to me because the link that's in the description has not been working. But they email me or message me on Instagram, and I send them the link for the Discord, and somehow it's the same link. Unfortunately, I found out the hard way. I was like, oh, damn it, the link's not working. So I literally went through like the first 16 episodes and changed the link, and it wasn't until like episode 15 that I realized the copy and paste link that I was switching was the exact same as the one that I was
Dang.
changing. Talk about not paying attention to detail. So stupid. So if you have been listening to this and you're like, hell yeah, dude, I want to get in the Discord, and you click the link and it doesn't work, either jump on my Instagram, and in my links in my bio, there is a link to the Discord. You can click that, or you can message me on Instagram, or you can email men's adventure fiction podcast at gmail.com, and we'll send you the link directly. We've had a lot of people in there. I think we are at 79, 80, somewhere around that
Nice.
at time of recording. So if you jump in, you may be the 80th member, or
Right.
by the time this goes live, you may be
Fun
the
day.
100th member. Yeah, you never know. Now's the
Let's
time to
go.
jump in there. But I'm doing good, man. We're still in kind of we just had a really bad snowstorm that was like super wet rain. So
Yeah.
I would love to go out and hike, but hiking in like ankle deep wet snow and rain is, I mean, it's fun, but it's also tough to find time to do stuff. So I'm hoping that it gets a little sunny, slightly, like maybe it's been like low 30s. Maybe if we can get up to 35, 40,
Yeah.
45, we can get some adventure in. But yeah, I've been good otherwise.
Yeah, gotta get to spring, you know? That's when the real adventure starts. I don't
Well,
like winter too much.
yeah, winter can be tough. I love winter weather because you can dress so much like cooler and ready for adventure, and it's easier to
Sure.
conceal carry. Um,
Yeah.
but at the tail end of winter, it always is a little like, all right, let's get the next season rolling along.
Right.
So,
I
but
think we're
yeah,
all craving a bit of adventure.
yeah, exactly. I digress. It's also tough because I have a
Newborn, dude.
4 week old. I think
Yeah.
on time of recording, she just turned a month old. So hard to abandon my wife with two kids to go out and romp around on an
Fair
adventure.
enough.
But maybe someday I'll have the chance. But talking about exactly that, dude, going out and romping around on adventures is the whole point of today's topic. And we're going to be talking about, I guess it ended up being a kind of top 10 list of the things to take on an adventure with you. Now, this is going to have some DNA that connects to our gear segment because we love our gear, but it's also going to have to do more with like a little broader in senses and stuff that we didn't really touch on as much in the gear section, but some things that we have touched on. And this is going to be either an actual like men's adventure fiction story or just going out hiking. And a regular everyday sort of life. So I can start us off. My first one, I actually have one on me. First piece of gear is going to be a pistol, dude. You got to stay strapped. Nothing better than having a gun. Now, this would be perfect for I consider this one a little bit of both. This is just like everyday hiking or actually going on a mission. And I personally, and you can jump in because I know pistol was on your list as well. I was thinking a high capacity 9 millimeter because 9 millimeter is a great caliber and it also has enough rounds. I mean that the gun that I just held up has 17 round magazine with one in the chamber, 18 rounds, and 9 millimeter is, according to the internet, so this could be wrong, enough to stop a bear, any bear. The problem is you may stop them, you may kill them, but they may not realize that they're dead, and they still may get you because they say usually like 45 caliber higher. Definitely 10 millimeter will stop a bear. But I feel like a nine's still going to do a great job, but it also is perfect for like self-defense purposes as well. So it's tough. If you have like a 45 Colt revolver, dude, definitely bring that for bears. And then have like a Beretta in the shoulder holster for backup or something like that. But yeah, a pistol, you can never go wrong with a good pistol for everyday carry or for the biggest adventure of all time. I mean, how sick is it like John McClane taking down a bunch of terrorists with just a Beretta, or Nathan Drake, and then he gets the assault rifle. If you have a pistol, you can fight the bad guys off and get the rifle. That's how I always think about it.
Right. That's a good point. And you get extra points for the Beretta, right?
Exactly.
In Adventure Fiction land. That's like the coveted pistol. I've learned that almost every single action hero almost has a Beretta on them. So I got to get myself a Beretta. It sounds like I got the M&P Shield 9 millimeter as mine.
Yeah, dude.
I like it because it's like even more compact. Like yours is pretty bad boy. You know.
Yeah,
like
it's a
beast.
It's a big gun.
And mine's like a little petite boy, and so I can do the conceal carry pretty
nice.
easily. And I agree with all your points where you can conceal it. It goes from everywhere from self-defense or just having it for the safety of it, all the way to your highest adventure. Could come in handy, so you don't want to not have it. I'd rather it be there and I not need it.
Right.
So I'm gonna keep that on me, no matter what the adventure calls for. So yeah, perfect first one.
Yeah, it's a good starting point. And like I've talked about before, dude, some of my least favorite parts of my favorite stories are when the private investigator is like, dude, I'm not even on a case. I don't need my gun. And then he's hiding behind a car without a pistol. It's like, dude, I don't want to be in that situation. So you got to lock in.
Right. Yeah. And finding the pistol that like fits you, for me, the 9 millimeter, like whatever fits best in your hand and like conceals well with what you typically wear, like it all is going to matter to get the best fit. But you will get extra points if you get a Beretta, it sounds like.
Yeah. Or I feel like a revolver would also be a nice touch.
That's
That's a classic.
Yeah. The single action army, or just like any kind of like wheel gun that you can spin and put in the holster, you're gonna get extra points. Like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, classic guns.
Now moving from the gun, I have a similar weapon type category as the next one, which is the knife. I feel like bringing a knife into the woods is one of the best options that you can have, because again, it ranges from maybe it's defense, maybe it's skinning the animal and getting it treated so you can eat. Maybe it's to carve more knives, carve some bow and arrow type, arrow or spears. You can do so much with the knife. And it's so versatile. And some of those knives even flip to the back, unscrew the handle, and that you can put like string and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So a knife can really be. Sometimes there's a compass on the butt. I don't have that one yet, but that's sick. But the knife is another one that's just so versatile and so necessary, and one of those things that you're like, when you come across a time where you need it, you desperately need it, and it's like you better have it, or else like there's no real substitute. You know what I mean?
I used to work at a gun shop, and we were like opening a bunch of boxes, and my boss was like, does anybody have a knife? And I like pulled out just like a flip knife, and I opened it up, and he was like, nice having a knife on you. And he like looked at his gun. He's like, I got my gun on me, but I mean, it would be a total waste of ammo to blow open the the tape off this box. And I was like, yeah, that would be the only thing wrong with that. It was pretty funny. But to that point, dude, when I was making this list, I was like, dude, a gun is so crucial. Like if you don't have a gun when you need a gun, you're cooked, right? Like there's almost no chance. But almost every single day I use my knife for some sort of purpose. Like the amount of times that I've used my gun is zero unless it was just for like training or for going to the range or something like that. But the amount of times, like literally yesterday, I had to cut open this big box of dog food for my dogs. And it's like, I'm not doing that with my gun, dude. I'm not blasting. I'm
That's so
not
funny.
not setting up the box like 15 yards away and
Yeah,
shooting a line down it so that it falls. But to
You would
that
get
point,
extra points.
that would be sick. And I think about that all the time, dude. Every time there's like a fly buzzing around the house and I'm concealed carrying, it's like I wish I lived in the old west and I could just like quick draw and shoot the
Practice
fly out of
shooting it
it.
out.
Yeah, it's just like you come over to my house, there's a bunch of holes in my ceiling. Now you know why. Um, but to that point, the knife, dude, sick for like men's adventure fiction. I mean, how many
Yeah.
crazy scenes are there where knife fights happen, or you sneak up behind someone, slit their throat to take them out stealthily, like stuff like
Classic.
that, or actually for just like hiking, dude. If I'm hiking and something happens and I like break my leg, if I don't have a knife, I'm just gonna have to be like breaking sticks with my hands to try and forge like a rough splint or something, you know. But if I got a knife, I can kind of like work with stuff a little better. I can shave bark into little slices. I saw a YouTube reel where you like weave the bark together into a string and then you can tie that around. Like if you don't have a knife, dude, you're pretty much completely lost. And here's the kicker, dude. When you shoot all 18 rounds of your Beretta 9mm
Yeah.
into the bear and he's still coming, you got the knife to finish him off. And that's really all you need is the knife. I
Absolutely,
mean,
dude.
it's over for the bear. Once you pull out the knife, dude, he's going to turn and run.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That is another maneuver you see in men's adventure fiction, including I think Noah Redford does this in like chapter 2, where you go from gun to knife on
Yeah,
an
dude.
animal because it's like sometimes that's all you got.
That's all you got, man.
You gotta have the both. You gotta be able to quick draw the knife just as well. Or dude, throwing knives, that's another
Yeah, that would be
level. If you
sick.
want extra bonus points, be the guy from Magnificent Seven or Nathaniel yourself. You're a pretty
Thanks,
good
man.
knife thrower. There's a clip in the intro, so people who watch this will have seen it, right? Of you throwing a knife.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. That's true. Uh, dude, quick aside. My wife
mhm.
and I may have told this story before on here. I don't remember. But my wife and I went hiking in Glacier National Park, which is
Yeah,
like Grizzly Bear City. And we went on this one trail, and literally at the halfway point, the trail was closed off because of grizzly activity. And I remember walking along, and there's this dude. He's like all gung ho. I think he had bear spray, so it was like okay. But he also had a bunch of throwing knives on there, and I like looked at him because my wife had just got me some for my birthday. I was like, dude, sick throwing knives, and he's like, thanks, man. And I was like, you gonna well, like, what's your plan with this? This is how I'm going to kill the bear. And I don't think he was joking at all. I was like, dang, son, like, that is a bold move to be
yeah,
claiming.
dude.
You must be really good with those throwing knives.
Dude,
Uh,
yeah, the amount of like cojones to just stand there and just keep yites, yites,
well, that's
as
the
the
thing.
bear's charging you.
That's
No,
like,
thank you.
it's so tongue in cheek to say that I'm going to kill the bear with my knife because I don't even know if a bear's like the knife would have to be so big to even get through like
Dude,
the
yeah.
skin and the
Feel like the
fur
hide
and
and
the
all that would
fat.
just
Yeah, and the throwing
you'd be
knives.
struggling to get it through as he's ripping you to shreds, dude,
Yeah,
one, limb by
your
limb.
arms like in there stabbing it, and then all of a sudden your arm's gone. So I don't think throwing knife beats bear. I'm not sure. I maybe I'm doubting this dude, and he's killed like a couple bears
But
before.
but the spears I create with my knife that I
Yes.
set up as a trap and cover with the land, and he
Yeah,
runs
dude.
at me, falls into it, and then
Yep,
I
yep.
jump on him with my knife. That's how I take him out. But then I forgot that the things are still below there, so I get stabbed with my own trap.
Dude, I was gonna say knife sales are gonna skyrocket, but now that you just threw in the part where you die in your own trap, all
Uh,
right. But yeah, we took out the first two, top two, pistol and a knife, dude. You gotta have
yeah.
them.
Take
Gotta
us to
have
the next one, my friend. That was fun.
them. All right, next one. This one is almost a redundancy because, but I think it's super important. I picked hatchet or a tomahawk of some kind, something that you can
Yeah.
like chop wood, chop down trees if you need to. Super useful for making spears and bows as well. The reason that I say it's like slightly redundant is if you do have a nice fixed blade knife. Luke and I talked about this on one of the first episodes. I think it was.
Yeah.
I think I did knife as a piece of gear, and you can take a fixed blade knife and put it on your piece of wood, and take another piece of wood and use that to split wood. But much easier to do with a hatchet. So I think that's just like and most hatchets have like you can flip it around and use the back as a hammer. So
Right.
this is like I feel like this one falls more into actual like not so much a movie or book but more so just like everyday living. Like if I'm on a hike, dude, and I get lost because my sense of direction is terrible. If you remember, we found that out in the Terrence episode. um, but I get lost. If I have a hatchet, I can start like chopping down boughs of trees and putting them in places and kind of
Right.
fashioning a crude shelter if I need to. So I can live in the woods, because if I'm lost in the woods, I'm never finding my way out. So the hatchet is
Same.
crucial to survival for that purpose. But to that point, I mean, there's also some sick fight scenes with hatchets and tomahawks
Yeah.
in action movies. Uh,
Dude, including American Primeval has really made the hatchet one
yeah,
of the
dude.
cooler pieces of gear I've seen in a while in a movie or a TV show, because it has some incredible fights with
Yeah,
that thing.
yeah.
But
There's nothing cooler than the tomahawk and knife dual wield fight.
yeah, unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Hatchet over there, the book,
There you
and
go.
it's like that is the best advertisement for why you should get a hatchet, because that shows the versatility. Exactly your point. Like it can do everything the knife can do for the most part, and more, more efficiently too. Like it
Yeah.
can cut down trees, it can split wood, and way quicker than the knife's going to do that.
Right.
And yeah, you gotta get that book and read it, and
I
if
know,
you haven't,
dude.
and then that'll
I can't believe I haven't read Hatchet.
you haven't read. I forget this all the time. Yeah. So you have to get this book and I'm saying anybody, but you specifically have to get
Me
this book now too,
specifically.
and read it, and then you just have the perfect advertisement for why you need a hatchet. Because
Yeah.
the boy survives fully with the hatchet alone. You know.
Yeah.
Beast.
It is one of those, like you said, especially if you're good at sharpening like your stuff, if you have a sharp hatchet, dude, it's essentially just like a wedge shaped knife. So you can
Yeah.
use it for whatever you use a knife for, but you also, just to reiterate what you said, dude, I'm not going with my 4-inch fixed blade knife and chopping down a tree, but with my small
Right.
hatchet, I could probably put some serious damage in it. So it is a great implement.
I agree. We knocked it off, dude. Hatchet. Good to go.
Yeah,
Ready
dude.
for the next one?
Ready for the next one? Let's lock it in.
All right. We got kayak, which is
Oh, yeah.
somewhat cumbersome choice. Uh, it's a lot easier to pick up the pistol, the knife, or the hatchet. To pick up and carry your kayak around might not be so easy, but I put it on the list because when we were talking about like adventure and different adventurous settings and things I would want to do, I don't think I've ever reached the peaks I have in adventure without my kayak. Those are like my best adventure days. This is like the peak for me. I love nothing more than being on the water in the middle of the woods. So like there's a lot of lake situations around us that it's like that, where you can go into the deep woods, then get into the lake, and you're on the kayak and go in there. It just makes me feel kind of connected to like the Jubal Sackett type situation you're going through. I guess if you want an extra adventure bonus points, do the whitewater rafting, which I have done. But I don't like that as much because I'm always with a guide, because I'm not like good enough to just go by myself. I would die. But it's just never as cool to go with a guide. I just feel I can't, play out my cowboy fantasy as easily if I have a guide there. But and I got the safety helmet and the jacket on. I just feel like a nerd, and I'm just come on.
I know.
But yeah, the kayak, because you can go for you can push as hard as you possibly can and get a sick workout and kind of race your friend. If you have a friend with you, and you can kind of like just push it to the limit and act like you're under attack, or you can take it really slow and contemplative. And some of the other pieces of gear we talk about later can tie into this, and you can really have like a moment to think and reconnect with nature, and everything around you and everything in your head can kind of sparse itself out. It's almost like a therapy session of it in and of itself. So kayak for me, peak. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the kayak yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why, but I always would prefer a canoe over a kayak.
Yeah, more traditional, right?
Even though like a kayak is objectively better in a lot of scenarios, especially if you're by yourself. But you're just too right about like being on the water. There's almost nothing more men's adventure fiction than just kind of like being on the water in general. I mean, to think back to like the unofficial Louis L'Amour podcast is coming out here, but that's just like locked into thinking of Louis L'Amour just traveling on like freighters and stuff to travel. So I don't really have the opportunity to go on a lot of like deep sea travel very much, but I do have the Susquehanna River right in my backyard. It's literally probably like a mile away from us.
That's awesome.
And something I've wanted to do for so long is get a canoe or a kayak and hop in that bad boy and just go down the river, because there's so many things that you can't see. Like, how many sick islands are in the middle of the river that I can't access unless I have a boat, Um, and me and one of my he's my sister-in-law's boyfriend. He's like really big into rock climbing. We talk all the time about how sick it would be to do like canoe camping or kayak camping, where you just like go down the river for a couple miles, find a place, set up. And that's like, I think it connects also to like deep-seated mindset of Mark Twain's work with like Tom Sawyer and stuff. Yeah, Huck Finn just going down the river. Like, dude, that would be the dream. I can't imagine just like as a 12-year-old just hopping in my canoe and disappearing and everyone thinks I'm dead. Like, dude, so sick. And then I'm just living in the woods. So I think that is intrinsically linked to men's adventure fiction. And there's also I think it might have been like a Louis L'Amour book, or it may have been like a Revolutionary War historical fiction book. But I remember they were on a canoe and they were sneaking up for like a sneak attack. Nice. double sneak there. Sorry about that. And instead of having just it may have even been like a Bonanza episode, but they didn't want their wooden paddle to be totally by itself, because the slap of it hitting the water made too much noise. So they wrapped it in some sort of cloth so that it like dipped into the water real stealthily. Nice.
That's sick.
Yeah, very cool. But quick funny story about canoes and me just absolutely overreacting and ruining it for everybody. I've talked before about how I used to go up to Maine all the time for vacation and stuff, but the people we would visit, they had a cabin in the woods right off of a lake, and it's near Avon, Maine. Really beautiful place, just totally like in the mountains, up in the hills, lots of rocks, lots of beautiful stuff. And my brother, and she was my girlfriend then, but my wife she's now my wife. We went in this canoe that they had there, and I was sitting in the middle, and they were on like the actual seats. There was no seat in the middle for me. And they started paddling, and we were probably like 45 feet out from the shore, and I'm the heaviest of them all. So like, I don't know if I just like shifted weird, but all of a sudden the whole boat was like rocking. I was like, oh my gosh, it's rocking. And then I like spazzed out a little bit, and I totally caused us to capsize. And we got out, and they were just like making fun of me for overreacting the whole entire rest of the trip. It was brutal. So maybe I should stay away from canoes. So this is why kayaks are better.
Yeah, dude. You can still probably capsize it. If you do, it makes it just more men's adventure fiction, because now you're in the water. You get to do to do the muscle up back into it. So
it's a survival story now.
It all works out. Yeah, like you said, it's just there is something men's adventure fiction about it. And my parents, when I was growing up, they used to have a house off the lake in Ohio, and when we would go there, and I would get on the kayak, and you'd like go for a little bit, and you could see in the distance, to your point, exactly like the island thing. There was this little island, and it was pretty, it was pretty small, probably like the size of the room I'm in right now.
Yeah,
you guys can't see that, but not that huge. And I would love just going up to that, pulling the kayak up there, and then like fantasizing about like maybe there's like a saber-toothed like a tiger on this thing, and I had to like hunt it down. As a kid, that's just like peak fiction. You get up on the island, what are you gonna face? Are you gonna face some like native tribe, or are you gonna face some like animal? It's just so cool to lock into that, like you said, the history of the kayak and island adventure thing. So gotta go with the kayak.
And it's perfect too, because it's like you've got your pistol, your knife, and your tomahawk hatchet, dude, and now you're on your canoe. And it's also just so like classic to like trappers and frontiersmen too. So that's why it's such a good pick, dude. Such a good pick.
My question, Nathaniel, is what happens when you can't see? What if it's too dark and you're on this adventure?
That's a good point. You may need
what am I supposed to do?
Something like my next one, which would be a flashlight, dude. Because being stuck in the water on your kayak and you can't see, you need a flashlight. So I think a flashlight is just classic for every possible reason. I mean, how many times have I written in my Nate Colt stories that Nate Colt has to pull out his flashlight to investigate what's going on? And almost more than I use my knife would be my flashlight, dude. And everyone has a phone flashlight, so you can kind of lump that into that. But those things are not very.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say not very powerful at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say not as badass either. The men's adventure fiction level goes up when you're not pulling out your phone, and you get like a classic click.
I know, dude. And there's nothing. It's like I feel bad every time I do it, because it seems like I'm just trying to kind of be like a dick and one up some people, but it's not the case at all. But what'll happen is, someone will drop something, and it's like dark enough that you can't see below us, and someone's like fiddling for their phone and they pull it out and it's like pitiful light, but I'm like a second behind with my full bore flashlight and just like immediate bright as day, and they look at me and they're like, come on dude. I'm like, sorry. This is why I carry this thing. This is literally the only reason I got it for.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that actually happened. I was smoking some pipes with the boys yesterday in the shed, and I have a heater in there, 2 heaters, so they were going, and we had a bunch of lights on, so the fuse blew, and I just switched the fuse. I had to switch it back, but we couldn't figure out where we were, so someone pulled out their phone light, and I pulled out my flashlight. I was like, this is what it's all about. This is nothing better than a flashlight. And you can get some really good ones. I think mine's like about this big, like a little bigger than a tube of chapstick, and it's rechargeable, and it was like $40. Can't go wrong with a good flashlight.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't understate it. Again, similar to what we said with a lot of these, once you need it and you don't have it, dude, you're done for. Like, it really is travesty. The flashlight. And, dude, when you're on an actual adventure and you're not in your everyday life, you forget how dark things can get, dude. Like, the middle of the woods, no lights at night, it is dark. And you're not going to see very well, even with your phone light. Like you said, it's just not going to be enough. Or if you are on the water at night, same situation, you are not going to see.
Right. Or if you're a couple other uses that came to mind, specifically in kind of like a fictional world. I mean, obviously, like real people do this. You could use it as like a signal light. You can flash it. I know the really sick right angle ones that they had in Vietnam. I think someone said that they still produce them.
They're the ones like right here.
Dude, you can put them there on your belt.
Yeah, dude.
When I got one, it was like a surplus one. It came with a blue and a red lens so that you could have 2 different signal colors, which is pretty sick. And then the other thing too is like when I was playing the Indiana Jones game a couple months ago, he goes into the tombs and stuff, and he's got nothing. So you have to go and buy a lighter so that you can get torches. Do you know what's better than a torch is a flashlight? You know,
Exactly.
So if any of your adventures, I mean, I went hiking one time in Colorado and I just came upon a cave. It looked like a mine shaft, and the flashlight I had was like worse than a phone flashlight, pitiful. And so I was like, dude, what if there's a bear in here? My flashlight isn't going to cut far enough in for me to tell if I can see him until like I'm literally
too late.
Yeah, I'm like 6 feet away from him, and then it's over.
You have to do your throwing knife that quick.
It's not going to happen. So I came back a couple of days later with a nice flashlight, and I got in there, and it was only like 8 feet in, and I just couldn't see it because it went around a corner because my flashlight was so bad. So have a good flashlight, dude. It's crucial.
That is a good one. That is a really good one that people overlook, you know?
Yeah.
I still fail to carry a flashlight a lot of the time, so that's one that I need to throw onto the list.
It's a good one.
Next one is going to take a little bit of a detour from what we've been talking about, and that is any good old-fashioned book or notebook. I'll take that into 2. I guess we can like split it into 2 different things. Yeah, Fighting Hard Man would be the best book to take with you.
Or Vipers and Red Rocks. You might actually learn how to survive with Vipers and Red Rocks.
Yeah, you'll get some ideas. Maybe it wouldn't teach you step by step. You might mess it up. I don't know, because I can't do it. I had to basically figure out how one would.
Right. That's what it's all about, though.
But get you one step closer. Yeah, but a book or notebook, taking them out to the woods goes back to the whole point of like what I said about the kayak, giving you space and time to think about things in a different. You're getting on a different channel than you are every day when you're going to work, going home, going to work, going home, and like in the everyday flow, you kind of switch things up, get into a new station in your mind of something that's a little more relaxed, a little more calm, and then being in tune with a book like that when you're out in nature, it's just I don't have to talk to you about the benefits of reading. Like you guys, love these stories. This is great. It gives you a time to do that in a setting that I think enhances it in a lot of ways. Like reading a Louis L'Amour out in the woods, just there's something better about that. There's something
for sure
to that, especially because as he said, he's of the oral tradition of telling stories around the fire. So like if you have a fire and you're just sitting right there reading your book, and you have a flashlight so you actually can see the words, it's perfect. But then the notebook, I maybe like that more than the book a lot of the time because being out in the woods, being on an adventure, to me, is one of the best times where I can be with my thoughts and kind of sparse things out. And if I have my notebook, I can like jot ideas down. Maybe it's for a novel, maybe it's for fighting Hard Man, that kind of thing, or Vipers, or it's just like things I'm wrestling with and things I'm struggling with. Though being in the woods and being intentional about your thoughts together with a notebook, classic.
Yeah, for sure.
You ever take either of those with you on an adventure?
Yeah, I used to carry a notebook everywhere I went for a long time. I haven't
Hmm.
much as recently, but the other day, after you talked about bringing a notebook with you before, I brought one with me. I think I
Yeah,
used it more as just a prop because I was taking some sick videos. But
right.
it's another perfect example of something that's like super crucial to any like fictional adventure. I mean, Nathan Drake carries a notebook. Indiana Jones carries a notebook.
Right.
Thomas Redford, or Noah Redford carries a notebook. Thomas Redford might as well. I
He
don't know.
probably does.
um, yeah, so I think it's like super a notebook or a book. I mean, there is nothing better than going out into the woods. I remember as a kid, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go out and sit like under this like deadfall, right? Like lean up against it in the middle of the woods and just read a book. And it was so sick.
Yeah.
And then like halfway through reading it, I was like, I'm tired of reading. I'm gonna go like run around and fight some bad guys. So I just like
Right.
grabbed my pocket knife and went nuts running around the woods. So I think that that's like something that's overlooked, I suppose, for specifically reading a book is like we do still all have that like inner child within us that wants to just go like run around the woods and have a good time. Um, and we may not be bold enough, or it may be too dangerous, or we may not be in a place where you can actually like just grab an airsoft gun or your like training sword or a fake sword or a replica sword you have and just run around the woods like a madman. Like that can
Right.
be super embarrassing, or it can be super dangerous because you're a grown man and you're running around the woods like a maniac. So if someone
Cops
sees you,
called on you.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But what you can do is you can kind of replicate that by going into the woods and reading a good story, or you can use that to like kind of inspire you to like dodge from tree to tree, even if it's not like a full blown fantasy adventure that you're having in your mind. You know, you can just like kind of like replicate things that make you feel more in touch with your inner kid. I think that it is just like the whole reason we read stuff like this is because it inspires us to be better. It's something that we don't really have in our everyday life. So I think doing that in a place that you don't necessarily go to in your everyday life just takes it to the next level, to your point. And then it will be nice to have a notebook at the same time because maybe you're reading this like novel out there and you're like, dude, I need to jot down some ideas about my new story. Like I'm going to like kind of take inspiration from this, but also inspiration from what I'm looking at and just write a sick action sequence right now, you know? So
Yeah,
that's a
that's
good
the thing.
one.
There's just no wasted time when you have a book or a notebook on you. You know, if you're sitting downtime, you find yourself like, what can I just need to do something with myself instead of pulling out the phone and doing like the typical scroll. You
Right.
pull out a book or you have a notebook. One of those is much better time spent,
Yeah,
dude.
for sure.
The return on investment on those would be way better than just scrolling through Instagram.
Yeah, that's a good term, return on investment. I think about that all
Yeah,
the time. Like when I'm on my phone, it's like, yeah, this is like entertaining and entertainment's not bad, but I'm not gaining anything. You know, like
yeah,
this is just like my mind is idle. But if I'm writing or I'm reading, I'm growing. I mean, and you can be like watching good videos that teach you things or reading
right.
something on your phone for sure. So I'm not trying to like fully bash the phone, but
No,
there is
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
like a piece of parchment in the hands
Right.
getting your mind running.
Perfect.
And
What's
nothing goes better with reading or writing than a little bit of tobacco of some kind.
yeah,
Now, this
dude.
could be a cigar, a pipe, but I have it as tobacco and the way to light it. So, kind of just the whole thing. Like,
Right.
so it will slip in a little. This is a little twofer. So, you get a lighter as well, which is also crucial for men's adventure
Very
fiction.
crucial.
Yeah. So, we got the pipe, and I think about that all the time. Some of my greatest, I mean, this is why I have had a kind of like a struggle coming to terms because like I think I've talked about before, I'm a pretty selfish guy when you boil it down to it. So finding out that I was having a daughter was challenging, and now having like more responsibility is still challenging, still something I struggle with. But it's all in the process of becoming a better man, a more godly man, letting go of my selfish needs and serving others, which is the true meaning of adventure. I feel like,
Right.
but to that point, dude, when I was living in Colorado, my wife worked 3 12-hour shifts and I worked 4 10s. And so the days she was off, one of the greatest days of my whole entire life, I took the dogs and I went to this, like, it had just become a state trail and nobody knew about it. You had to like park 50 feet away from it and hike to this trailhead just on the road. And there was actually like a hobo camp there somewhere, which is a little spooky. But I went there one time with me and the dogs, and I brought a stogie and I brought some pipes, and I literally smoked the stogie hiking up to the top of the mountain. Got to the top of the mountain and overlooked the Garden of the Gods. I finished the stogie, and I found there was a sick cave. And I went and I sat in the cave, and I pulled out the pipe, pulled out some tobacco, loaded it up, took nice time, taking it easy,
Yeah.
pulling it out, lit it up, smoked a pipe in a cave. Felt like I was in Lord of
That's
the Rings,
awesome.
like as a hobbit or Aragorn on one of the journeys, dude. Greatest day ever. And then
That's amazing.
me and the dogs ran around after that and went back home. So it's like, it's stuff like that. To your point, I mean, when you have a kayak, when you've got a book, when you've got a pipe and tobacco, it takes it. And I think that this fits in as well in like a truly like action-packed adventure movie, because these characters or story of any kind, these characters have to like kind of center themselves and think over what they have to do. And they got their notebook to write down the plans. When they're on the river, they've got like a lull on the kayak. They're writing down their plans. They're smoking their pipe at the same time, or smoking a cigar. And it's all these things that kind of like center your mind and allow you to like hone in. I mean, Sherlock Holmes has the famous saying is like, this is a 3-pipe problem, which means it's going to take him 3 pipes, 3 bowls of pipe tobacco to figure it out. So there is something to like, and I think that this kind of is what you get to. A lot of people will say, oh, smoking a cigar relaxes me. Oh, smoking a pipe relaxes me. And they take it to mean like the nicotine of the tobacco is what does it. But really, dude, if you sat outside for an hour, hour and a half, just doing something like that's kind of procedural, you always have to take a puff of something with a pipe, you have to tamp it, you have to relight it, stuff like that. It does. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to calm down. It teaches you to think. And then you do get like the soothing mellowness of tobacco, which is nice. You get to taste something good the whole time that has no carb effect. And I mean, you can disagree if you want, but according to a lot of research I've done, as long as you're not inhaling the tobacco smoke, even like the minor inhales, like if you're just taking it into your mouth, tasting it and blowing it out, it is very negligible to your health. And if you're doing it once or twice a week, it is almost non-existent. There's an article, if you look up one cigar a day, there's an article that's like a peer-reviewed study, and it says 1 to 3 cigars a day has no effect on your health almost at all. It's if you're smoking like 5 or 6 cigars a day that you start seeing issues, which if you're doing that, God bless you for all the time you have on your hands. Good for you, dude. Good for you. But yeah, what are your thoughts on tobacco of various kinds?
I think you nailed it. It's one of those situations where if I try to wax eloquent or try to add anything, I'm gonna feel pretty stupid because I think you nailed it. It's exactly what people do when they're like, oh, I get my best shots, my best thoughts in the shower, or I get my best thoughts when I'm on a walk. It's like, it's because your mind is in that idle state.
Yeah.
And so it's like a version of that you can turn on, like a switch that you can choose to turn on, with the added benefit of it being a men's adventure fiction aesthetic and kind of linked to that
for sure.
legacy, right? So it's a perfect win-win of like, let me get contemplative. I need to think about this. Like you said, 3-pipe problem. I need to figure out what's going to happen next in my book, or, I'm really stressed out with this thing at work. Let me take a moment. And it lets you pause,
Right.
be reflective. You're sitting there. You're locked into the legacy of men's adventure fiction with the smoke into the tobacco, and you feel a little bit cooler. And you have a cool head about you, and you just get to root out your thoughts a little better than when you're constantly in the buzz of your screen time and, work demands and family pressures and stuff like that. So if you do get the moment to smoke and relax, and it like tunnels you into this very focused state, with that enhancement of what nicotine might do for you as well, right? And to your point, exactly, if you're smoking 5 times a day, wowza, you've got some free time, dog. Like, that's good. That's good. 5 cigars a day. I guess like cigarettes would be easier to rip those, but like 5 cigars a day, that's impressive. That's a lot of free time.
There was a guy, I worked at a cigar shop. I may have talked about this before too, but he literally just worked there because he got a super, like it was 35% discount on cigars. And he would literally, from the moment you saw him to the moment he left, he would be smoking cigars the whole entire time, dude. Crazy stuff.
I wonder how many he does a day. He's up for it on that.
I don't know either. And once you start doing that, I think it's kind of hard for your palate to recuperate. So you're not even necessarily tasting them. So at that point, you're just kind of smoking to smoke, which
Yeah.
fair enough. If that's your stick, go for
Right.
it. But yeah, I think, and that's the other thing too. Like you said, the legacy of men's adventure fiction. One of my favorite pictures is Errol Flynn on his yacht, and he's got
Yeah,
a
dude.
sick leather jacket with the like the bomber fur, and
Hmm.
he's wearing a cool shirt, and he's got a rope belt, I think, and he's holding on to the rope, and he's got the pipe just in his mouth. And it's like, dude.
So good.
So it comes back to the kayak and the canoe too, dude. If you're smoking a pipe on the water, I think that's what's so sick is like tobacco of any kind that we're talking about here really complements the whole rest of the list. Because
Right.
with a book, while you're like whittling your spear, smoking a pipe, cleaning your pistol, or even if you're like training a range day, you got a cigar the whole time. Sick, dude. Sick.
Amazing. Yeah, it enhances all of the ones we've said before. You know,
Yeah,
perfect.
for sure.
The next one I feel like is more so. It's not as like glamorous as the cigar, but it's a staple and it's kind of like a necessity. The
Yeah.
canteen.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're not hydrated or you're not like have a water source with you,
Right.
you can consider it your last adventure, dude. You're gonna be kaput. Yeah, you need to stay hydrated. You need to stay in the game, and if things go wrong, you get lost, and you find a water source, and you can fill it back up, and then boil it. Like gives
Yeah.
you an opportunity. If you have nothing to put your water in, like what are you gonna do?
It's over.
So you gotta have. I think better if you have like a metal canteen of some kind, or like
Yeah.
one that can turn into like the cups.
Right.
You boil the cup, but so yeah, some type of canteen or water source or bladder, and yeah, make sure it looks cool though too if you're gonna go men's adventure fiction route, because I've definitely had some canteens that have ruined it, or like some water cups that have definitely ruined the entire vibe
Yeah, for
of the
sure.
adventure.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before we were recording. I had a like a camel backpack that was just like bright lime green, which is fine if you're like trying not to get lost in the woods, but if you're
Right.
trying to go on like a serious like adventure of any kind or any sort of like special operations thing,
Yeah.
if you were like, there's no chance James Reese is rolling up with a lime green backpack, dude. No way.
He's so funny. Dude, he had a Louis L'Amour cover, and he's just Crossfire Trail, and there's just a lime
No,
green
dude,
backpack.
no. I can't. The other option was like a dark blue. I don't know why I picked lime green. It's stupid.
It's classic in the sense of like, like the triathletes and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Like it's definitely classic in that legacy. But when it comes to like men's adventure fiction,
Yeah,
you
it's
got
not it.
you got to go with the
It's not
neutral
it.
colors, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Something
yeah,
that
not
like
much to say on the canteen other than make sure it works and it's cool.
right. Yeah, and to that point, like you said, I was thinking like you could definitely have like a life straw or something like that, but if you can't find any water in the first place, then it's over. Or if you can find it and you don't have a life straw, how are you going to get it somewhere to drink, like to boil or anything like that?
Right.
And maybe the idea is like even if you have one of those sick like tin cups, like the tin coffee cups the Cowboys always had, like the blue with white speckles on it, you could have that like attaches to your canteen, and then you could boil that.
Yeah, dude, that's typically what I like to do is take like a bladder
Uh-huh.
and then have like clipped like those that climbers use. What are those called?
Carabiners.
Carabiner, dude.
Yeah.
Put that through the campfire mug. Put that through
Yeah,
your
dude.
belt loop. And you're just cling as
Yeah,
you walk. Not great for stealth because you're gonna cling
Yeah.
the
got,
whole time.
A little
But,
Samwise Gamgee stuff going on from Lord of the Rings. The pots of it. Yeah, dude. I went on one of my greatest friends. He's absolute badass, dude. He's climbed probably like 30 of the 54 or 56 14ers in Colorado. Just
Sick.
absolute machine. We went on this sick hike to it's called Queens Canyon, and it's like a burned out canyon in Colorado. And the only way you can get down it is just like sliding down these super steep scree fields into the canyon. And he was rocking and rolling with a tin cup on his backpack. I was like, dude, hell yeah,
Beast.
this is sick.
Yeah.
That's like a pro adventurer there.
Right.
You've like graduated when you got the tin cup on there because you got to boil water at any time. It's like, yeah, all right, I got to get a tin cup.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is it makes you look like you know what you're doing, dude, when you have the ting 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 cup going, dude. You're just walking around with that bad boy.
Right. It's also a canteen and a tin cup is like total hobo core. You can
Yeah.
just like imagine you sitting on the train, like 50 feet from the train yard, waiting, or the rail tracks, waiting for them to come by so you can jump on. And you just got like a little tiny fire, and you made your coffee in your canteen, and you got your little coffee cup, and you're just drinking it. It's like so Americana. I can imagine Louis L'Amour doing that, like his whole during all his adventures, dude. It's
Yeah.
classic.
As you were saying it, dude, I was going to bring up my next point was also Louis L'Amour for the unofficial Louis L'Amour podcast. This is why the show needs to grow. It's not for any other purpose other than for people to figure who know this answer to let us know. How do we get the rights to make Louis L'Amour's Education of a Wandering Man
Yeah, dude.
into a biopic? I want to make a biopic
Yeah, that would be
about
so
Louis'
good.
time as a hobo and his life. I wanted to make that so bad. How does that even happen?
I know.
We need to grow the show just so somebody who knows Louis and his camp and they
We
could put us in a good word for us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and because that's what's so cool. Like you don't get much content that really kind of highlights the hobo lifestyle, like Louis
Yeah.
L'Amour stuff, and that's just his regular life, which is crazy.
Right.
But the Mucker talks about it a good deal, which is Edgar Rice Burroughs, and then Dean Martin's song, actually, two Dean Martin songs. He was part of the Rat Pack, very good friends with like
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra and everything. He does King of the Road, which is literally the story about a hobo guy, like a homeless
Mhm.
man just getting on the train tracks. And then he does another song called Gentle on My Mind, and that one's like a love song, but it talks about basically like a guy meets a girl and they fall in love, but they don't feel like they have to like get married or anything. And so he's just like wandering around as a hobo thinking about this girl, singing this
Nice.
song. And I think he says
Classic.
like he talks about his tin cup filled with like coffee or soup or
Hey,
something,
there you go.
and
Yeah.
that's the way that like he's holding the warm cup and on a cold day, and that reminds him of his lady love. So classic hobo
Beautiful.
vibes.
Exactly.
And
Classic.
dude, what would be great to have as a hobo, and is one of my final options to take on an adventure with you, is gonna be a dog. There's one right
Yeah.
behind me right here, dude.
On the right by.
I love I love dogs. So dogs are kind of like a double-edged sword on this. If you actually are in like a survival scenario, a dog could be a negative, like a detriment to you because you have a second body to feed, right? But the
Mhm.
positive is if you've got, I mean, he hasn't done this, but he's definitely got that dog in him. So I think he probably would. He would revert to the primordial beast, like they talk about in was that White Fang or
We got White Fang and
yeah,
Call of the Wild.
yeah,
They
yeah.
kind of have some stuff like that.
So I think he'd be good to go, and he's also a big dog, so he might be able to take out a deer or something. But my mother and father-in-law's dogs, literally, just like every single week, we get a new picture in the family chat of them, like with a groundhog or a squirrel or something that they just caught. So if you got a dog and you're stuck, like either you're a hobo or you are lost in the woods, dude, send that bad boy out to catch you an animal and bring back to camp. Give him
Yeah.
half of it, eat the other half. You're locked and loaded. Also, one of my favorite scenes in film history is in John Wick 3, the whole sequence with the dogs
Oh, yeah,
fighting
yeah.
people, dude. So I accidentally trained Gruffy behind me to anytime anyone pulls a gun, even if it's just a toy gun, he like jumps up and grabs it out of their hand.
Sick.
Probably going to get him killed, but it is pretty cool. It's
It's
pretty
pretty
cool. Oh,
Yeah, dude, the dog is another classic men's adventure fiction trope. Like how many stories and movies, books, etc. have the dog and boy relationship?
yeah, dude.
Absolute classic. Um,
Isn't
Also,
the cover of Hondo? Doesn't he
yeah,
have
there's
a
a
dog
dog
with him?
next to him, and he's got the hobo lifestyle thing going on as well, where
Yeah,
he's
dude.
like carrying his life, and this dog's next to him. Um, and to your point about like dogs being really good when you're in a survival situation, the best hunting I've ever done in my life, my favorite type of hunting ever, is like pheasant hunting,
Nice.
where they send the dogs,
Yeah,
and
dude.
the dogs go on point. And you're like, all right, there they
Too
are,
sick.
and they're just like the dogs are just all right, boys, and they're just like get them ready, and then you kick them up out, and you can, you can train a dog to find animals for you and just like point them out with their nose, and you're
Yeah.
just all right, I guess I'll go kill them over there. It's like how epic is that? Do you literally
Yeah,
have like
man.
a partner in crime? And like the movie I Am Legend, is that what it's called? With Will Smith.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
great dog
Dude,
survival
I totally forgot
movie.
about that.
Yeah, that's
Very
a
good
good
point.
one.
Um,
So
yeah.
it's good to have the dog with you.
Every once in a while, I'll get in my mind and I'll be like, because that's the other thing too. If you're stuck in the woods, dude, and it's cold, if you got a dog, you can just like cuddle that dog
Hmm.
up and it'll keep you warm. It'll keep the dog warm because
Right.
they do put off a lot of heat. I mean, Gruffy used to sleep in bed with us all the time, and about halfway through the night, every time I'd have to kick him out because we'd just both be sweating, or he would just leave on his own. And that's the other thing there. I would always like, in my wandering mindset, I'd be like, dude, a post-apocalyptic America, kind of like I Am Legend, and I've got Poppy and Gruffy, my 2 dogs, and like we just have a campfire, and we put one of them by the campfire. I'm in the middle, the other one's on the other side, and throughout the night we rotate while we like stoke the fire. We stay warm all night long. You don't even need a blanket at that point. So dogs, I mean, they're called man's best friend for a reason. But if you can, and this is the thing too, it's like if you've got like a dopey dog or a dog that doesn't listen at all, they can be a massive detriment to you. But if you've got like a
bark and get killed,
yeah, or they can't, like they point the wrong way instead of at the pheasants, and you're off on a wild goose chase, you know. Or I guess it would be a wild pheasant chase in that. Sorry. But yeah, if you have like a well-trained dog or a dog who you can train is trainable, then you're in a good spot.
Agreed. Good pick.
Thanks, man.
Gotta bring the dog along in an adventure. Get him in the kayak. They could do it, dude. They could swim.
That would be fun.
So my next one is somewhat similar as far as companionship.
Yeah.
I picked friend. I think I stole this off you. So we both picked friend.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Having a friend with you, again, is going to just complement and enhance every single one we talked about. Because what's better than a pistol? 2 pistols. What's better than a knife? 2 knives. You have 4 throwing knives coming out too.
Yeah, dude.
Different people. 2 hatchets better. 2 kayaks. Everything is going to get enhanced. Even the book, dude. If you buddy read a book and then you like, I take my perspective and my thoughts and what I've learned, and then you take your perspectives and your thoughts and what you've learned, and we're like chatting about it, then it's, we're each going to get a deeper understanding of this story. Same thing with writing. I'm stuck on a chapter. I come to Nathaniel and we talk about it. Dude, I'm going to get a better sense of what to do rather than if it's just my thoughts bouncing off my thoughts.
All right.
As soon as you can bounce that off with somebody else, it's perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, going on a good adventure with a good friend can really deepen a relationship, deepen a friendship, be kind of meditative for both of you guys, out on an adventure together, bonding experiences, just nothing. People weren't meant to be lonely, you know what I mean? Like we weren't built to be independent creatures. We need community. We need friendship, companionship. So definitely link up with somebody who makes you better. Iron sharpens iron, as the Bible says. So like go out there and be together and do the life and adventure of one of these heroes together.
Yeah, man.
You'll be better than trying to do it on your own.
Yeah, for sure. And that's so well said. I shouldn't even try to say anything else, but I'm going to. But yeah, I mean, this podcast would be it would still probably be good with just one of us doing it, but it's much better with 2, right? Like, I think the Bible says 2 is better than 1, and then a rope with 3 strands is hardly ever broken, So, I mean, maybe take 2 friends, dude.
Right. Yeah, the more friends, the merrier.
Exactly. And then you just got a camping trip with the boys in the woods, dude. And to that point, you think like, oh, well, now you have 2 people you have to feed, but you could also have one person kind of like hiding in the bushes and the other guy scares the game towards him. And if you've already got your pistol, blast that bad boy, drop him with a 9mm. You got dinner. You can build stuff better. You can work better together. And also in a tactical sense, a 2-man team is better than a 1-man army. I mean, we had a whole episode about how 1-man armies are so badass, but if you got backup, dude, things are so much better. And that's one of my favorite things about Vipers and Red Rocks is kind of how it delves into like, dude, a 1-man army is sick, but a brother in arms is so much better. So I think that like if you've got someone who, and I think that's also why the Cowboy and the Criminal works so well, which is the book that the short story we co-wrote together. It's like both of those guys are badass characters, and Noah Redford certainly can exist on his own and does well in all of his stories. But I don't know if Sal would probably have some pretty rough books if I just wrote stories about him all by himself, because he's kind of a dirtbag. So
he would get in some fights, dude. That'd be a violent book.
Yeah, he would be abandoning people that he loves left and right because he has no moral compass. So I think that it is like having a friend even on an adventure, dude. Like if you're going back to that story I told about hiking with the dude with the tin cup into Queens Canyon, I smashed my ring finger up pretty bad on that hike, and it was like if I need to. Luckily, I was able to find ways out, but we were like climbing out of some sketchy stuff. And there was one climb I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this with my
Yeah.
bad hand. It's like he can reach down and grab me, pull me up. It's teamwork. It's all about that. So having and hiking alone is awesome. Highly recommend it. I should think everyone should do it. I used to go on a quarterly camping trip by myself just to kind of reset my mind. But it can be dangerous if you get your leg broken.
True.
If you fall down a big hill, a cliff, and your leg's broken and you're by yourself, dude, it's like you said, that's probably your last adventure, right? I mean, like
Right.
you can drag yourself out of there, but if you've got a brother in arms or anyone who can help you out, dude, it's a game changer. So
Yeah, dude.
nothing better than a friend.
It's funny. I have a similar story where like if I didn't have a friend there, I might have been toast, dude, or like had some serious problems because it was Casey's brother, Caden, who
Uh-huh.
went on like a winter hike type situation, and we wanted to look at this cave down there, like in this valley. We
Yeah.
went down, got to the cave and stuff, and then when we were coming back up, I like had the worst shoes on for it. I had no traction, so I could not get up at this certain point, and I was like stuck on this hill. And I was like, I'm gonna fall, and this is gonna be bad. Or if I like stay there, it's freezing cold. Like I
Yeah,
eventually
dude.
will get like frostbite. It was too cold for
Oh
that.
man.
So I'm just like here, like what do I do? Like I either go down and eat it hard and then like figure it out, or stay here and try to inch up and maybe get frostbite. And luckily, Casey's brother was there. He lend a hand, pull me up. It's like, dude, you can make stupid mistakes like not wearing the right shoes, and
Right.
you could be kaput. Like 127 hours is a crazy story and movie. But the
Yeah.
guy like went out there just with the intention of like exploring and hiking as he always did. He wasn't going out there like I'm gonna make the most insane adventure survival story. Like that was not the intention.
Right.
It just things happen when you're out there in the wild. So having someone with you,
Yeah, dude.
absolute game changer.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So I mean that sums it
Solid
up.
list, dude.
Top 10. I don't know if I'd even say this is necessarily like a top 10 list, but it's five that we both thought were super important, and a handful of them were overlaps. So we thought
Right.
we put it together. But let us know in the comments what else you'd bring on an adventure.
Right.
There's a lot of other things that I have like in my mind, but these, I feel like if you have these, you're going to be a lot more successful than if you don't have these. So keep
Absolutely.
these things on you. And I know that there was a little bit of an overlap between like the stuff we talked about with gear. Like we talked about a handful of these in our gear segments. But I mean, we both wanted to do like a deeper dive on these instead of just like a passing thought about gear. But yeah.
Yeah, these were all worth diving into. And if you haven't added any of these to your inventory, dude, go ahead and get one. Spring's coming up. You're gonna go on some adventures, so get one or two of these.
Yeah.
Explore the local lake with your kayak, or walk the trails while smoking your pipe. Do something like that.
Or if you
Look
go
great.
out before the winter's done, have a buddy with you to pull you out of the slippery
dude.
snow.
Don't
and
do what I
cliffs. Yeah, because what I know for sure is if you're trying to climb up rock walls and you don't have gloves on and your hands are cold, dude, you're gonna need a hand. You're gonna need a boost. So
Yep,
get a buddy. Go on an adventure, man.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Good
good
stuff.
stuff.
On to the end segment. It sounds like.
Which we would be remiss if we didn't do. Bring back the gear end segment one last time. So I know you guys are thinking like, dude, you just spent the whole episode talking about gear, but we wanted to touch on a couple more things. Two more things. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first because I think
Okay.
yours will be good to tie everything
All right, cool.
together. Although I don't actually know what you ended up picking, so maybe it doesn't tie everything together. All right. I'll go first either way because we've gone this far. There's no turning back now. My piece of gear for this episode is the flint and steel fire starter, the kind that
Yes.
you like have the little knife attached to it. You spark it and you can get sparked because you can build a fire. Even if you're like, I don't know how to build a fire, I'm not good at this. You stick at it long enough, and that's a key point, dude. If you stick at it long enough and have the patience, you can make a fire. Because I was reading Galloway, I think, by Louis L'Amour, unofficial Louis L'Amour podcast, sorry, and it talks about how he was doing that. It wasn't, as high tech as ours going to be, like the flint and steel, but he was sparking and to get a fire going. And it said he did it, and he was like, well, an hour and a half later, he got his fire. And it's
Dude.
like he had to do that for an hour and a half. And that's why a lot of people are like, I can't do that. I've never been able to do that. It's like you probably didn't do it long enough. You probably didn't try long enough. Back in the day, it was survival, and they were going to do it, whether like it took 5 minutes or 2 hours. They're going to figure it out. So it's, if you stick with it and you learn how to do it, you could definitely learn to make a fire.
Yeah, for sure.
From the time you watch this podcast to like the next 2 months, 3 months, you could definitely build a fire successfully.
Right.
And you could start it with that flint and steel fire starter.
Yeah, dude, I've always had a hard time. I don't think I've ever started a fire successfully with those, but I think it's because I've never had like the right stuff to get started. But I remember reading or seeing somewhere that like one of the best places to find kindling for using a flint and steel is like if you're in the woods, you see a deadfall, and you need a knife for this. So that's a reason to keep a knife on you. You can like slice off a lot of the rotten stuff until you get to the stuff beneath, and that'll almost always be like super dry. Then you can kind of just chip it off and shave it real fine, and that's just like perfect to basically like a matchstick at that point. And if you shave it small enough, it'll just catch the spark and immediately jump to life. So,
and for us in this day and age, dude, your lint traps and
yeah, dude,
those are incredible fire starters
for sure. Which I'll jump into my last
Yeah.
my piece of gear because it does tie all this together. Mine would be just kind of like wearing the right stuff, and this is going to be super broad, so it is multiple pieces of gear. But I mean, for example, both Luke and I are wearing some sort of outer layer and some sort of like somewhat lighter under layer. So I've got a decently thick Henley, but it's like it would be perfect, dude. This is a great jacket for anywhere. Like this, I'd be able to go hiking from probably 40 degrees to 90 degrees, and I could just take layers off depending on how it is. This has got a lot of buttons, so you can undo the buttons, roll up the sleeves, take off the jacket. If it's around 40 degrees, I can button it up, pop the collar, But also crucial would be bringing some sort of backpack, and you could do like an Indiana Jones style satchel or a leather backpack, or heck, you could even do the lime green camelback if you need to. But to Luke's point, dude, if you have a backpack, I think all of my backpacks have either like, I worked at a restaurant, so when you change the receipt paper, I would just keep those every once in a while because that stuff's like super flammable. I also have like roll up lint or duct tape. Duct tape, according to John Dutton on Yellowstone, is the most flammable thing in the whole entire world. So keep with that backpack, even if you don't take it out. Keep like a first aid kit that has some sort of tape, some sort of lint, something in there that you can start a fire with. And with that backpack, you can carry all of your gear except for maybe the kayak. A little hard to carry the kayak in there. But
funny enough, if your backpack can withstand it, Casey's that he has that we use have like the rope.
Oh yeah,
thing, like a little loop, so you can loop it to your backpack and just absolutely scrape it across all the land. Or if you have a buddy can walk backwards, have it on his backpack. You have it on
or
yours,
he can wear the backpack on his front.
Yeah, dude, and you're just let's go.
Yeah, that's
so we can make it. We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. There you go. Or you could get one of those like. What was Kevin Hart's character in Jumanji? He was the weapons valet, and he had the backpack that you just pull anything out of, dude.
Yep. Get one of those, dude.
Yeah, you'd be locked in. But yeah, seriously, all of the like, a key to adventuring is having like the right stuff to wear. So that factors into so much. And I mean, if you're cold, you've got a flint and steel now, and you can start your fire, and you've also got an extra layer of warmth, dude. You're locked in. You're golden. So yeah.
Dude, yeah, the fashion of men's adventure fiction all comes at a reason. Like, this is to wick rain. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like,
there you go.
All purposeful. That's why they had these back in the day.
That's sick.
So, keep at it, guys. Get the right gear and keep trying to do adventurous things. Be the heroes you're reading about. Be the heroes you're watching. This is not that far away. It's within your grasp, my friends. Like, you could be the hero. It's so sick. I love that notion that like I can get this list. I can get everything on this list. I can go out on an adventure and feel that much closer to a Louis the Moore character. You know what I mean? Right. Especially if I'm wearing this 10-gallon boy.
Oh yeah, baby. Looking too good, brother.
It started to squish my brain, so I had to take it off, dude.
Well, see, and that's another aspect of the outfit, dude. A hat. I don't know where I put mine. I had a flat cap.
You had the sick one. Yeah.
I had a wool flat cap, and that blocks the rain. So that's another thing. Like you said, this wicks rain. You're good to go, dude. You can be withstanding anything with a hat, a nice jacket, several layers. You're golden, dude.
Love it. Well, this was a fun episode, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us, and make sure to join the Discord so we can have further chats about gear. And there's a gear channel.
There is a gear channel, dude.
We can hop in the gear channel.
There's a pipes, cigars, tobacco, other goods. Yep. So we can talk about that too. Maybe post a picture of your your tin coffee cup, dude. Hell yeah.
There you go.
That's what it's all
Let's
about.
go, dude. Show us how you carry the kayak in your backpack.
Yes.
That's one way.
Yeah. Well, this was a blast. It's always fun talking with you guys. And we're excited to just continue talking men's adventure fiction. And don't hesitate to sound off in the comments the stuff that you bring on your adventures, or even just talk about adventures that you've been on, or perhaps an adventure you were on where you didn't have the right piece of gear and now you always keep that on you. I mean, I told the story about why I always carry a screwdriver a while ago. So let us know. Give us some comments about that stuff.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Nathaniel, for hanging out with me.
Of course, dude.
A couple of hours here. It's fun.
Yeah, man. All right.
Take care, guys.